I'm not going back to college to be your friend. I'm going so I can get Uber One for students. It saves you on Uber and Uber Eats. I'm there for $0 delivery fee on cheeseburgers, up to 10% off smoothies, and 6% Uber cash back on rides. Just to be clear, I'm there for savings, not whatever you think college is for.
Get Uber One for students, a membership to save on Uber and Uber Eats. With deals this good, everyone wants to be a student. Join for just $4.99 a month. Savings may vary. Eligibility and member terms apply.
Summer's here, and you can now get almost anything you need for your sunny days delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a well-groomed lawn delivered, but you can get a chicken parmesan delivered. A cabana? That's a no. But a banana? That's a yes. A nice tan? Sorry, nope. But a box fan? Happily, yes. A day of sunshine? No. A box of fine wines? Yes. Uber Eats can definitely get you that. Get almost anything delivered with Uber Eats. Order now. Alcohol in select markets. Product availability may vary by region. See app for details.
Joe, we're back in Newport Beach, and this week, kind of one of the weirder names that I've ever seen for an OC episode. This one's called The Earth Girls Are Easy, Season 4, Episode 8. Really don't fully get this title, but that's fine. I got nervous at the start of this episode, Joe, because the previously on the OC had some deathly serious music. And I thought, oh no, my feel-good season 4 is about to feel like the OC all over again. And I mean, it does have some serious elements to it, but I think my love of season 4's just balls to the wall campiness is still fairly intact this week. But this is a flashback episode. We start off in one circumstance, and then we jump back 7 hours earlier to give us context for how we got there. But then we're only brought up to the middle of the episode, and then it continues. It's a very weird structure that they decided to go with here. I have to give a One Tree Hill update. Very similar to a plot line that I'm in right now with One Tree Hill, where there's a who's pregnant storyline going on. I did get the answer to who is actually pregnant finally, Joe. Just, don't want to ruin One Tree Hill off the air, but or on the air for anyone else. But I know that it is not the person that I texted you saying it was a couple days ago. My first major note, though, I want to talk to you about how dumb I am. Because I wrote,
what?
Is that Kevin Sorbo? And then I went on the OC Season 4's Wikipedia page to confirm if it was Kevin Sorbo. And I read that his name was Frank Atwood. And it didn't click in my head that it was Ryan's dad. I thought,
wow.
I literally read the name out loud and said, isn't that Kevin Spacey's character in House of Cards? And then I just left it at that. It's like, well, that's weird.
Frank Atwood versus Frank
Underwood. But I just left it at that. I'm like, oh, that's kind of a weird coincidence. And then just moved on with my life. And it literally wasn't until the end of this episode where he's like, I'm Ryan's father. I'm like, that's right. Ryan's last name's Atwood.
Well, did it signal to you that oh, he said his last name was this, but it says Atwood on IMDb?
A little bit, but not as much as you would think. I honestly could have cared less about the Kevin Sorbo plotline in this particular episode. I think the Kevin Sorbo stuff gets a lot juicier next week. Well, now I actually finally realize what the name of this episode is tied to.
Yeah.
because it's an alien girl who grabs their purse. And obviously, if someone's pregnant, they like to say that they're easy, and that's mean and not correct. But okay,
It's the double
so,
meaning that we've been talking about, right? Like,
yes. There's always two to it. I did write this, which I think I've been thinking for 4 episodes, but I finally put it in notes. And I said the bullet looks like someone doing a George W. Bush cosplay.
yeah.
I want to talk about this pregnancy storyline. Taylor knowing that Summer's late is so funny to me. Like, Summer has said nothing to her, and she just like walks in, and she's just like, I have some news to break to you. I think you're pregnant. And she has like all the evidence like locked in, because it's like, well, because you had the same period as me last month, and now you're not on your period because you didn't like eat this chocolate or like whatever. Like, it's like such an
You
elaborate
didn't open the box
thing.
of tampons.
Yeah, like it's so funny. And it's just so perfect on like how insane Taylor is. Like, it really, I was like very charmed by that scene. But you know, Seth is trying to figure out why Summer might be distant, because he hasn't pieced together that maybe she's with child. So he kind of crashes Ryan's Vegas trip with Taylor. And I do love a line where he says, listen, man, I'll pay you back for this. I'll get us the best room that Sandy Cohen's money can buy, which is just like, we've talked about it before, but like Seth's entire character arc is spoiled kid who doesn't like spoiled rich kids, but is definitely
very much
a
a spoiled rich kid.
rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's so insane. And this episode is insane because, again, there's really no, unless I missed it, there's no real explanation for why this random alien is robbing the purse beyond just bad timing.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just like, this is like Go. It's like watching that movie Go.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. I was like, it's very like, part of me was like, oh my gosh, we are in like a post 90s shadow with Go. And like they did go to a rave and all this stuff. And what's also interesting, Matt, is the like, we've already seen the Taylor gets something stolen from her trope, like in season 3 with the, you know,
the money,
with
the prom
Bolchek
money,
and the
right?
money and the prom. And I was just like, part of me was like, why does this sound so familiar? Like, oh, because we've already kind of done this.
Yeah, we've already done this plot line. And then Ryan and Taylor get into the dumbest fight, I think, that I've seen in the OC.
Yeah.
Because, like, Ryan rightfully is just like, hey, you have a pregnancy test in your purse. What's the story? And, like, Taylor's just immediately like, what, you think I'm some hussy? Like, just like, no, I'm just asking because that's not a thing that normally you would have in your purse.
Yeah.
Like, Ryan's being very reasonable in that conversation. I do love this. I know I'm kind of speed running this episode. This episode was just fine to me. I'm not sure. What's your take on this? Last week, we talked about your absolute least favorite episode of the OC.
I mean, again, this is fine. I love a like Vegas hijinks because we've had that a couple times already from the OC, or like, you know, a little road show type of situation. This is coming out in 2006, right? Or like it's 6 into 7, so like we're just a few months away from like The Hangover, because I think The Hangover came out in 6 or 7.
Yeah,
so it's kind of
sounds about right.
It's cashing in on that a little bit, but I mean, like you said, it's just like it's like very solidly okay. Like I don't think it's anybody's.
Actually, no, I think The Hangover was much later than that. Actually, now I think about it, I think The
8 or
Hangover
9?
was like 2010.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm looking now.
Well, that being said, like it's still like it's like the thing about this episode, right, is that it doesn't feel new. It is very much referencing other things. It's a referencing Go. It's referencing, you know, all those things. So I feel like it is a solid episode, but not in the top by any means. And it's just like we need to do something because we just can't come out and say like, hey, I'm Ryan's dad. Like we need to tease it out a little bit.
It's I think that's the thing that I didn't love about this episode, is that it's kind of, with the exception of the is Summer pregnant, a lot of it is just holding pattern, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of just like keeping the status quo of the season real quick. So like we get a little bit more of the fact that Julie is like low key running a male prostitution ring underneath Kirsten's nose. But like that still really doesn't, like nothing really comes of that just yet. It's just like a means of Kevin Sorbo entering the picture via Bullet.
Yeah.
Right. And like the Bullets and the Kevin Sorbo stuff really doesn't start moving until next week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Everything's just kind of there. But what I do love in this episode is what they do at the end of it with this summer pregnancy scare thing, where before they look at the pregnancy test, Seth, I guess in an effort to prove that he would love her and marry her whether or not she had a baby, proposes to her, and she says yes, and they get engaged, and it's so exciting. And then I wrote down this note before it happened, and I said, Summer's not pregnant. I'd love if Seth just asked for the engagement ring back right then and there. But they actually go for this like graduate energy ending where like neither of them are particularly excited about the engagement anymore, and they're very awkward about everything.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of where it's like that, and finding out that Kevin Sorbo is Frank Atwood is kind of where this episode leaves us, in like a very like uncommon for this season, a bit of a more somber cliffhangy ending than we've gotten the last couple episodes.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate is the world's biggest coffee lover because we love all the ways you enjoy. Wait. Coffee Mate can't love coffee more than me. I'm a foodie. I went to Kyoto just for a nitro matcha latte. What? Oh, I have to finish the ad. Coffee Mate, for the love of coffee.
This short break from civilization is brought to you by the Ford Bronco. Get back out there. The Ford Bronco. Built wild. Learn more at Ford.com/Bronco.
91 Donkey Lane is a magical apartment complex that contains immense power but lacks intelligent inhabitants.
What is happening?
I'm getting texts.
Why are we getting a lot of texts?
People found out what we did.
Oh, dividing Mike Myers into an infinite amount of tiny Mike Myers?
Listen to 91 Donkey Lane for free on Spotify or your favorite podcasting app. More at 91donkeylane.com. See you there, you donkeys.
Like I said, it's far from the worst episode of this season, but I do feel like it's one of the least important episodes of the season. Like, especially for a show like the OC, where we always talk about how every episode feels like a quarter of a season anyway. This feels like half of an episode. Like the first this whole episode could have just been the beginning of a different episode to get us where we need it to go.
Yeah, it could have just been like we were done with the fucking male prostitute thing.
Yeah, like get rid of the male prostitute thing. We don't even need the Vegas trip. Like just literally start the episode with Summer thinking she's pregnant, taking a pregnancy test, and Seth proposing. That's your cold open, and then like next week's episode just starts from there. Like that's really all. The only things from this episode that carry forward in a meaningful way is Frank showing up and Seth and Summer getting engaged and regretting it. Like that's all that we get, and that's all in the last 5 minutes of this.
Yeah.
So like we could have just gotten there a lot quicker. Like literally, it could have been that Julie got called up. Like you started off with like Julie having the male prostitution ring, getting called up by a suitor. The suitor reveals who he is, and the last minute of this episode was Seth and Summer into next week's episode. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's very strange. But as we're making noises that represent the songs of this podcast or of this TV show, Joe, I think we're hitting the tail end of the OC having a music budget, because there was like 2 songs in this episode. There was 1 song in next week's episode.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that everything is on a downward trajectory right now in that sense. But of the 2 songs that we got in this week's episode, there's Tally Hall with Smile Like You Mean It when they drive to Vegas. And I'm pretty sure that's a Killers cover of the song Smile Like You Mean It. And then when they're at the rave, Dogville by Dogville plays. So I'm going to just go ahead and go with that Killers cover from Tally Hall on this one.
Same.
So yeah, I mean, what more do you need? Joe, before we wrap it up, I know it's a shorter episode than the last couple of weeks. We had like 3 really long fucking episodes last couple of weeks, so we're due for a short one. Pop culture stuff. What are you watching? What are you enjoying? What do you want to talk about? I mean, Joe, is there an event that you might even be hosting in a couple of weeks that your listeners might want to know about?
Yes. So I'm going to do 2 then. So 1, I'm going to talk about the Freaky Kiki Horror Ball, which we're talking a lot about on Fright School. You can follow along as we get closer and closer. It's going to be on October 4th. Yeah, we're really excited because this is just a couple weeks away. Might even be next week. I don't know. I know this is coming out at towards the end of September. So we really want folks there. So if you're in the Southern California area, come on down to the Freaky Kiki Horror Ball. Tickets are still available. We are very excited. If you know nothing about ballroom culture, I would definitely recommend like culture for you to look at. Definitely recommend watching Paris is Burning. Definitely look at Pose. Check out like clips on YouTube for Legendary from HBO did like a couple years ago. We are very excited, and it's all to raise money for a local San Diego queer charity called the Lambda Archives, which is dedicated to preserving queer history of the San Diego region and Northern Baja. So head on out to the Freaky Kiki Horror Ball. And the other one I want to plug is like, Matt, you know this because you've been on the journey. I am finally watching The Circle on Netflix. I am doing what you said, like, because I was like, hey, give me some tips, give me some pointers. Like, I don't know if I have it in me to watch like 6 as of recording this. It's like 6 seasons, but like
season 7 will be started by the time this episode
got it. Okay, yeah. So
out. Yeah,
I was like, just give me who I should like. What should I be watching? And so Matt was like, okay, watch season 1 and season 4. So I'm about to start season 4 over this weekend, and so get ready to get some text messages, Matt.
I'm so excited. I loved your updates on The Circle. It's like I said, I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like it's kind of wholesome trashiness, right? Like it's a trashy show, but you do get the feeling that the contestants actually really like and care about each other. And that when we talked about this, the vibe of like, you're here to win the money. But I feel like more than a lot of those other shows, you can see that it like genuinely pains them when they have to be the one to make the decision on who they're going to send home.
No one's that good of an actor. Regular people are not that good at, at being an actor like that. So,
yeah, I mean, they're like legitimately having like heart palpitations when they realize that they're going to have to choose one of the people that they've just spent an entire week becoming really close with and just crushing their dream.
Yeah.
They don't get to explain themselves or anything, right? Unless that person happens to visit them after. That's my favorite element. I always get so excited just to see which person they end up visiting and how that interaction goes for them. But yeah, Circle's fun. I'm excited that there's more Circle. It's weirdly been posted on the What's on Netflix website. It's listed as the 7th season of Netflix's hit dating show is how the Circle season 7 is described. So I'm like, I really hope that that's just like a copy editor fucked up and not that they're just trying to turn into a dating show suddenly.
Yeah, someone got fired. Like,
for me, I've only watched the first season of it, but I gave the Righteous Gemstones a shot.
Oh, okay.
And I really liked it. It's like Danny McBride is one of those people who I really appreciate, but my tolerance level is always lower than I think most people's. So I put it off for a really long time because I'm like, I don't know if I want to deal with like 3 seasons of Danny McBride doing the Danny McBride thing. But I was like, man, I like cruise through season 1. And not that Danny McBride's bad in it, Danny McBride's fine in it, but I think having that full ensemble cast, like everyone is like knocking it out of the park. I actually, when I was watching it, I looked at Barb and I was like, I don't think I could ever take Adam Devine seriously in a dramatic role. Like, I think he's like forever trapped in just doing
a big
comedy.
Old goofball.
Yeah, like he's just a silly, strange man. So that's all I've got to say. And you know what? I was excited to cruise into the next episode of the OC after we watch this one. So stay tuned next week to hear my thoughts on My Two Dads, episode 9 of season 4 of the OC next week.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.